Once again, good morning, everyone. I believe tea or biscuits are not enough to say good morning to everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's afternoon? Okay, so good afternoon. All right. Please grab your seat. We are starting session 2, and session 2 is going to be much more energetic and knowledgeful than what we had in a session 1. So this session 2 is thorough technical session where we will listen to the experts from their field. If anyone has an old agenda, there is micro change in the agenda. And one of the changes, as we have seen in last couple of Trafo Care, Mr. Charles of Polywater used to speak great about the leakage problems and the transformers. Somehow his health is not well and he could not make it. And that's why we have made some changes in the program. So in his place, we have our friend Mr. Simon Ryder, and he is going to speak on that. But the subject is his own subject. And anyone if has attended earlier sessions of him during the Trafo Care or earlier sessions about the asset management, you know him well. So he has really mastery in that. Okay, we start session 2, and session 2 is going to be a technology for conservation of the transformer. And the technology for the conservation of transformer is much more beyond what we have accessories to really conserve the transformer. There is going to be a lot of spoken, written, unwritten, unspoken words which will definitely speak in depth about the conservation and health monitoring of the transformer. As we know, we always say prevention is much more better than the failure and breakdown. So that's what is going to be a focus for session 2. So may I request session chair, Mr. Chawda, to be leading this session. So Mr. Chawda, please. Thank you so much, sir, being part of us. Mr. Chawda, as we all know, my friend will read about his short note and his achievements and so far how we are going to get benefit. Then may I request Mr. Simon Ryder to be on dais, please. Big applause of cap, please. Why we are up silent? So tea is not that great that it makes you lazy. And then we have our friend, my old colleague, and the subject expert of the IT instrument transformers, not the IT, the other one, and bushings, Mr. Pramod Rao. Yes. And Mr. Sumit Sharma of Skipper Cell. Mr. Sumit? I could not. Yes, finally. Thank you for making it up, sir. Happy to see you. Please, thank you. All right, so I hand over mic to my friend, and she have. Sorry. Anything else, Jagdish? Oh no. Oh, sorry. So she will have a quick intro to the all dignitaries on the dais.
I hope everyone is comfortable at your seats after a good short break for tea and coffee. I would like to introduce to everyone the session which will be chaired by Mr. Chawda. I would like to give you a brief about him. Dr. A.J. Chawda has been employed at Gujarat Energy Transmission Corporation, GETCO, since 1989 and currently works as a chief engineer in the engineering department, Corporate Office, Vadodara. He has worked in many units of energy transmission department, that is projects, testing, operations and maintenance of substations and lineup to 400 kVA, etc. He has service experience of more than 34 years. Dr. A.J. Chawda has received his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Gujarat University of Ahmedabad in 1989. He has completed his MBA from IGNOU in the year 2001 with specialty in operations management. He has completed his master's degree in power systems from AJ University, Rajkot in 2013. Dr. Chawda has completed his PhD in 2021 from Pandit Dayanand Energy University under the guidance of Professor Vivek Pandya. The interested areas of Dr. Chawda is diagnostics and rectification of fault in power transformers. He could rectify 27 number of faults of EHV power transformers and could get them back in services. Now I request Mr. Chawda to kindly take over the session. Thank you.
Good morning to all. Thanks for arranging some nice seminar on transformer. This is a very big subject. So, I'm not just waste time. It is we are slightly delay, but we will handle it. So, there is a 3 speaker, particularly in this session. There is a one slide change. Okay. Mr. Charles was not present, so Mr. Simon will take the subject. Yes, we know that one of the major reason of transformer failure is the bushing failure. Okay, so nowadays the technology updation in bushing is introduced, and RIP, RIF, and RIS bushing is come there. So the failure chance of transformer is now reduced. So in our first, Mr. Pramod will explain about bushing and its technology. In second, online DGA and its importance by Mr. Simon Ryder. And third one is the tripping of DM box, means OLTC, by Sumit Sharma. So I first of all request Mr. Pramod to give his presentation regarding bushing technology. Thank you.
Maybe Palak will quickly express the details about Mr. Pramod Rao. I had opportunity to be with him, but let everyone understand him. Palak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Shinde. I would like to brief you all a bit about Mr. Rao. Engineer Mr. Pramod Rao has done his BE, passed in 1981 from COAB Pune. His total experience is more than 42 years, which includes 35 years in Crown Countries Limited in India, in Nasik and Aurangabad. From July 2016 till date, is the technical advisor of Yash High Voltage, Baroda. Mr. Rao is a member of SIGRI working group of A342, failure analysis of recent AIS instruments transformers accidents. He has presented many technical papers, a majority in SIGRI session 2002, CBIP 2019, SIGRI curriculum in New Delhi 2019, and SIGRI again in 2023, National Commerce of Failure Analysis for Power, Transformers and Reactors. He has also presented in Igniting Power Energies, EMA, Siemens India, Power Grid Goregaon, Power Grid again AM Engineering, JETCO, IPPS and Desotec Trafo 360 at Italy. I would ask Mr. Rao to kindly please start with his presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is the first presentation, so I have to make it interesting. So that's the challenge what I have. Let me try my level best. I'll be speaking on the transformer bushings, in-service long-term reliability, timely retrofitting, a preference for RIP and RIS bushings. These are the topics what we will touch upon. The main topics what we will cover in this is the transformer bushings, various types, construction and insulation wise, condenser grading concepts, product construction, manufacturing processes, routine electrical evaluation, long-term reliability features, what we should look for in bushings. That will be right from design to evaluation. Degradation mechanism, how to detect, we will touch upon this subject. You know, the subject is very vast, but we have to cover it in a scheduled time. So we'll talk about capacitance and delta concepts, precautions to be taken during site measurements, typical failure modes, condition assessment checks, tests, methods, and then the most important aspect nowadays is retrofit and replacement, whether it is OIP with OIP or OIP with RIP, RIS. And in summary, whatever documents I have referred, I have listed them. Let's look at quickly various construction types. Bushing is anything which passes current at high voltage through earth barrier, whether it is transformer tank, whether it is GIS flange, whether it is building wall or brick wall. It is right from 1 kV to 1200 kV is the typical kV range what is used, and it is passing through earth barrier as you can see. And the current ratings typically are right from 100 amperes to 25,000 amperes. Now let's look at various types of bushings. Air to oil type, typically less than 3150 amperes, and some special bushings for STATCOM applications right at 6300 amps. On the leftmost side what you see is the SRBP bushing, old technology SRBP bushing. In the center, the three bushings what you see are the OIP bushings. On the right side, what you are seeing are the RIP and RIS bushing. The white tail one is RIS bushing. Now, for generator transformer application, high current bushings are typically used, right above 10 kiloamperes, right up to 25 kiloamperes. Now, they are going up to 40 kiloamperes also. On the right side, what you see is air to gas generator indoor application bushings, which are typically RIP or RIG. RIG is resin impregnated glass. Now, this is what you see are the wall bushings, where the transformer is mounted indoors or it is inside a transformer laboratory, testing laboratory. The high voltage, high current supply is brought inside the hall. Another type, construction type. Basically, all these construction types are based on immersion media. On the left side, what you see is a oil to oil bushing, where from transformer you are connecting it to the cable. In between, what you see is the OIP to SF6 type bushings, where the transformer is connected to GIS line, or it could be GIS itself. And on the rightmost side, what you see is air to SF6 bushings. There are both types of constructions are there, where there will be a simple 2 electrode configuration, but nowadays, in order to optimize the size, they use a small condenser also in air to SF6 type bushing. Now, there are two basic types of bushings. One is ungraded bushing, second one is graded bushing. The third type is based on the construction of the current carrying part. These are nomenclatures what you would have heard of. I am repeating it for the sake of common understanding. On the leftmost side, what you see is the transformer lead, which is terminated at the top. That is on nearer to the HV terminal. That is called as draw lead bushing. In Indian context, it is used up to 800 amperes. But in international concept, they go up to 1250 amperes, 1600 amperes also as draw lead. In the center, the figure what you see is called as draw rod type bushing. In Indian context, it is used up to 1250 amperes. And on the rightmost side, what you see is a solid stem bushing, which is used for current ratings greater than 2000 amperes. Now let's look at various insulation types. The three types which are predominantly being manufactured today, RIP, OIP, RIP, RIS. You will note that OIP is almost now manufactured for last 100 years. Still it is being manufactured, it's a mature technology. Similarly, RIP also has completed around 60 years of manufacturing experience and usage experience. In India, it may be new, but it has been operational for last 50 years. Then we have RIS bushings, which is a paperless bushing. And this is resin impregnated synthetics is the terminology which is used. And this is relatively a recent development, and it has been in the service experience of this has been almost now 10 to 12 years. But it is proving to be more advantageous. OIP bushings, the positives, if you look at it, they are partial discharge free bushings. There is a good service experience. There is a lower production cost. And the temperature is limited by the oil's temperature capability, that is class A, that is mineral oil, and it is 105 degrees centigrade. When you look at the negatives, it needs a complete housing. You will see why it needs a complete housing in the construction part. Moisture ingress can result into dielectric failure, and it can result into risk of fire of transformers. It needs mechanical camping. It's a tie rod kind of assembly to keep the assembly intact at different temperatures also. And in the event of failure, there is a risk that the condenser core may drop inside the transformer. So there could be, the transformer needs to be reconditioned, but it takes longer time. And it needs regular monitoring to monitor its health. Then comes RIP bushing, basically a solid insulation bushing, where the system is oil and gas tight bushing. There is no housing needed for oil end. On the oil end, what you see, the brown color one, is the direct active part of the bushing. Then it is non-flammable. That is the most important aspect. It operates with damaged housing for some period of time. In case of OIP, it is not like that. The core, the condenser core is fixed to the flange, you will see in the construction. It has got excellent mechanical behavior. Means when you do a seismic evaluation, if you do seismic acceleration test at the base of transformer, say it is 1G, then at the bushing mounting flange it is around 2G. So it can withstand those vibrations. Another aspect is it is partial discharge free bushing. Several thousand bushings which we have tested, there are partial discharge free at 1 minute level. So it has got those advantages. The technology has matured, you can say. Excellent aging experience because it is a solid insulation. Then we have, the bushings can be mounted in any position. It can be mounted horizontally also. We rarely see it in India, but in international context, it is horizontally mounted as well. Another benefit is this particular resin what we are using, it is a Class E insulation. We can operate up to 120 degrees centigrade. The negative or the constraining factor could be higher production costs, and because of resin impregnated paper, the bottom part is sensitive to moisture ingress if it is not stored well. Till the time it is mounted on transformer, this is a sensitive aspect. The third one, what you see is RIS. All the positives of RIP do exist in this, but it is a paperless bushing. It involves synthetic film. You will see the picture of the synthetic film in the next slide. It has got lower tan delta value compared to RIP. Then it has got shorter production time because paper needs to be dried. A synthetic film doesn't need drying. Then it is non-sensitive to humidity, even if it is stored in a humid environment. The only negative aspect of this is that it has got fewer installations, and those, because normally whenever a technology changes, utilities allow some experience period to go, and now after 10 years of service, now suddenly the technology is picking up, and suddenly it is going up, and internationally it is seen that it is growing in the volumes. Just to share with you an extract from TNB presentation. TNB Malaysia is the bigger utility, a technology leading utility. And they have found that in a time frame of 2001 to 2022, 30% of the total failures of the bushings, total failures in the grid were caused by bushings. And 27% of those 30% are failure modes which are due to the dielectric failure modes which are caused by insulation degradation or aging. Although the transformer failure rate may look to be 0.1% of transformer service area, but overall 75% of the bushing failures in their grid, it has resulted into a major fire risk. And the risk cost of such events is very huge. They have reported it. This is the picture what they shared it in one of their presentation. On the left side what you see is a OIP bushing failing causing severe damage to the transformer. But on the right side what you see is a failed RIP bushing which did not cause any damage to the transformer even if it had failed. So they decided to change over to RIP bushings, RIS bushings. You will see the data ahead. Now this is one of the market research study which has been done specific to these three technologies by one of the famous market research company. I have just summarized it here. The composition in the marketplace in 2020 was if OIP is 100, RIP is 64, RIS was 36. This was the market research of 2020. But in 2030 they are predicting that the ratio will go to 100, 110, 65. And the market growth, you can see another picture. Market growth is if OIP was 100, it is not declining, please remember. It is also continuing to grow but at a slower rate. It will become 150 in 2030. RIP is growing faster than OIP and it will almost become 3 times the experience. RIS is also catching up very fast and it is going to around 250. All of a sudden, last year or so, we have seen that suddenly there is a growing demand for RIS bushing in view of the advantages seen by the customers. In RIP or RIS, the main technology is resin. SIBA, you know SIBA, earlier Huntsman used to be known as SIBA. They had developed in 1946 araldite, what we famously know as, and many companies in Europe, and it was led by Moser Glaser Switzerland. They together along with SIBA, they developed resin impregnated paper insulation for high voltage application. These are some of the pictures at the bottom what you are seeing of use of resin impregnated paper for high voltage application. When you use RIS, a new technology being developed, it is less moisture absorbing. This has been proved by keeping it in a humid chamber, 100% humidity chamber, and monitoring its tan delta value. And the experience is 10,000 hours it was kept. Still the tests are continuing in Moser Glaser, Switzerland. And there they measured the tan delta of the bushing at 20 kV and corrected it to 20 degrees centigrade so that we get a uniformity trend. You will see a stable tan delta value. So that indicates the stability of the bushing. Now let's look at condenser grading briefly. The picture what you see on the leftmost side, the yellow band is the insulation band. And what you see as foil layers, those foil layers indicate that these are the condenser aluminum foils. Typically these are aluminum foils. And what you see in the center, the cut section of a RIP bushing, and the thin white lines what you see there, those are the aluminum foils. So they are placed concentric to each other. The condenser grading on the right side what you see is a synthetic RIS bushing cross section where those lines are dark white lines are those lighter white lines are those aluminum foils there. And if you cut a section of RIP, you will find aluminum foils in white color and the resin impregnated paper is in brown and spots. Condenser grading, the concepts are simple. What we use here is capacitance of concentric cylinders. That is the basic concept. The cylinders are concentrically placed. We have to do the grading in order to achieve uniform capacitance between the foils so that there is a uniform distribution of voltage. So that is what we call it as C1. It comprises of many capacitor elements connected in series, and by first principle we can say that the voltage can be controlled. Now another function of, there are two functions now of condenser grading. What you see is the image of field plot across the air and insulator of a aired oil bushing. You have to uniformly distribute the potential all along the insulator, and on the other side you have the oilant part of the bushing where the equipotential lines have to be uniformly distributed. So once you have uniform distribution of voltage, you have less stress environment, and then the lives are longer. On the right side is the true picture. If you don't do any grading, the stress is nearer to the smaller dielectrodes are on the higher side. But with grading, you uniformize the stress, you minimize the stress, both. Now let's look at construction aspect. As I explained to you, the construction of OIP bushing is a tie rod kind of assembly. There is always, a OIP bushing will always have spring assembly in the conservator. It has to hold all the sealing rings intact. The bushing sealing has to be maintained intact. And what you see is, on the right side picture is, the insulator could be cemented for mechanical strength purpose above a particular kV class or above a particular cantilever load requirement. And the gap between the condenser core and insulator is filled by oil, what you see. This is a construction which is common for RIP and RIS. There are two kinds of constructions which are prevailing, out of which there is only one construction which is prevailing in Indian context. On the leftmost side, what you see is, which is more popular in Europe, is that the silicon sheds are directly molded onto RIP or RIS core. It is called as directly molded insulator bushings. But whereas in India, hollow composite insulators are used because there are issues like rodent bites and all, bird bites. It can affect the insulation, so it is hollow composite insulators are used. All these bushings at the mounting flange level, the RIP or RIS condenser core is glued by a resin-based glue to give the mechanical strength to it, as well as there are sealing rings provided at both the ends. So the difference between OIP and RIP RIS is there is no spring assembly in RIP RIS. There is gluing, resin-based glue is used at the mounting flange level. There are two construction features. One, what we call it test tap in normal terminology, where the outermost aluminum foil is connected to test tap. This is the point which has to be used for capacitance tan delta monitoring during manufacturing as well as during service. And whereas the other one, what you see on the right, is called as voltage tap. This is more popular in American market scenario, where last but one aluminum foil is connected to voltage tap and the outermost foil is connected to earth. So there is a C1 and C2. There is a divider formed inside the bushing itself. The test tap is normally rated for 2 kV, whereas the voltage tap is rated for 20 kV. Most important aspect is in test tap is that it has to be connected to earth during service, and you have to remove it for the purpose of measurement. If you don't do the test tap cap on the test tap stem, you are not earthing it. If you don't earth it, 50% of the voltage can appear at the test tap step, and it can result into failure of the bushing. There are, for cap earthing, we can say, the cap is screwed onto the mounting flange is connected to earth. There are springs which are provided in the test tap cap. The springs can be in the form of coil springs, or it could be multi-contact in the cap, or there are constructions where on the test tap stem you have multi-contacts provided. Briefly look at the manufacturing process. Condenser core winding is done on winding machine by using insulating kraft paper, electrical grade insulating kraft paper, vacuum drying and oil impregnation. We have to remove moisture. They are